I think the first impression you'll have when you visit the ranch is just the vistas.
It could be a large herd of antelope down on the open grasslands to a large herd of elk running up a draw through the Gamble Oak. It's just really a spectacular feeling being out here in the great Colorado outdoors.
Well, the first impressions were the fact that it was so diverse in the topography. We hadn't really anticipated the canyon country, the rock outcroppings, aspen patches. The habitat is incredible. The Yampa Valley is known for the rafting and hiking and biking and horse activities, and of course the arts in the town itself.
We happen to be here during the tail end of the calving season, so we'll see cow elk with young calves by their side, and it's really neat to listen to them talk to their young offspring and trying to keep track of them and keeping the little ones along with them.
Good evening and welcome to Rural America Live. I'm Christina Loren. The real estate land brokers from Mason and Morse Ranch Company offer more than 133 years of combined experience in real estate brokerage. Their agents all come from farming and ranching backgrounds in rural America, and they operate under the core value of live it to know it. Joining us tonight is Bart Miller, principal owner and managing broker of Mason and Morse Ranch Company, and John Stratman, principal owner and broker of Mason Morse Ranch Company. We want to remind you, you are a big part of this show. In just a little bit, we're going to be opening up our phone lines and taking your calls and your questions live. But first, we want to start with some background on Mason and Morse Ranch Company and your roles. John, let's start with you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having us here. We appreciate that. I grew up on a cattle ranch in central Colorado. My family ranched in Montana and Nebraska, so my roots are a lot like our clients, ag backgrounds, and so we take what we know and apply it to what we do, and so it's a lot of fun. I currently live in Colorado and work most of the western states.
Wow, and I mean, you are working a lot of various states. We're going to talk a little bit more about how expansive the work that you do covers. We're going to get into it. But first, let's just do the basic introductions. We want to say hi to Bart now. Bart, tell us a little bit about your background and your role.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and we watch this show all the time, and so it's finally fun to be on the television show. I grew up in Nebraska. We farmed south of Lincoln, corn and soybeans. My family still farms corn and soybeans there. And so, the love of the land and the passion that I bring to the business stems from that, growing up as a kid, farming and ranching there.
I think that's what makes you so unique. You actually know what it's like to put in a hard day's work, and that those are the people that you're serving. How does that incorporate into your day-to-day business?
Well, again, our motto is we live it to know it. And, some people ask us, well, what does that mean? Well, the live it is the lifestyle. Coming from farming and ranching backgrounds, we understand what it takes to be a successful producer, rancher. We just love the outdoors and recreation. To know it is the land, and what the land can provide for you. So that's why we're here today, to share that passion with the viewers. So thank you for having us be here.
Oh, we're happy. To live it, to know it, that means that it's not always easy. Farming and ranching can be very, very difficult, and it takes a certain individual to be strong enough to maintain that, and even generations to come, they will experience the same thing that mom and dad did when they started that operation. So it's not easy, and I love how you can really get down to the basic level with the clients that you serve. You really understand them. That's what sets you apart. Now, working with farms and ranches and equestrian estates, very different than what we typically see in residential real estate transactions. So, for instance, you have to have an in-depth knowledge of the laws and issues facing farmers and ranchers. Talk about what it is that you do.
We're there to help buyers and sellers. Typically, with a seller, we go out and meet them and get to know what their goals and objectives are, and we spend time looking at their lands so that we can help them with what those goals and objectives are. So the big thing for us is to go meet people face to face, learn to understand what they're trying to do, and learn about the property that they have decided they want to sell.
Absolutely. And we have a website. We're going to go ahead and give it to you right now. If you're already interested in learning more about Mason and Morse Ranch Company, you can just visit their website. You can see it right there on your screen, and it is fantastic. www.ranchland.com for more information. And it also explains on your website in great detail what you do and really what sets you apart. And that's what we're all going to be talking about tonight. What really makes you different than the competition. And Bart, what's great is that your services span across rural America. Talk about the various areas that you serve.
Well, really, we serve clients coast to coast and from Texas to Montana. Obviously, a lot of our listings are in the western portion of the state because we are farming and ranching, western part of the country, I should say, because we are farming and ranching. But a lot of our recreational outdoor enthusiast representation for buyers or for sellers, those are in other parts of the country, and we've obviously sold some farms and ranches on the East Coast in North and South Carolina and Florida and Georgia. And then as we come west, we've got a big presence in Texas and Oklahoma and Nebraska and Kansas, and obviously Colorado and through the west to Oregon. So. Wow. We certainly cover the territory.
It's a beautiful country, too. God's country, as I like to think of it.
Absolutely.
You know, how do buyers and sellers find you? Because you're not in what we call the multiple listing service or the MLS. That's not where you're going to find properties like this. So how do your clients find you?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways. I mean, obviously today everybody gets on the internet, and we happen to search very well. We've been at this for over 20 years, and we've sold a lot of property, and ranchland.com does come up pretty easily, but we get people know about us by word of mouth. They've had an experience with it, so they tell their friends. But we do a lot of marketing, so we offer traditional listing services where we actually go out and list a property and present it to the marketplace, as well as auctions. We have an auction arm, and so we can accommodate people if they decide they want to do an auction.
So, but referrals, I mean, that says a lot about what you do. If people want to recommend you for such a big transaction to their family, to their friends, I think that says a lot about you. Give us an example of a typical buyer or seller, someone who contacts you. What does that typically look like for that phone call, that initial conversation?
That's a great question. We do offer buyer representation services. And that can be, for a client who has purchased many transactions and they just are looking for a specific type of property, maybe can't find it themselves. We can certainly locate that. Maybe the property is listed publicly, maybe it's not quite listed for sale yet. So we go around, knock on doors, figure out who might be in the position to sell and those types of things. So for our buyer representation, we certainly know how to find the properties that may not be easily found.
So even if they're scouring the internet for the perfect ranch or the perfect piece of ag land, maybe it's not there, but it doesn't mean that you cannot find it for them.
That's true. I mean, even our first instinct is to go to the internet and search for something. That's what we all do, right?
Right.
But the reality is you may not find everything the first time you go look. And our experience and expertise is some of these rural properties aren't on the internet yet. We know where they are, we know who owns those types of properties, and we're able to find those properties for clients who need a buyer representation, whether it's expanding their agricultural operation or looking for a hunting or fishing property, whatever it may be.
Talk a little bit about the common connection that you have with your clients, John, and how that really helps you communicate with them on a level that somebody who may be a real estate broker just shows up on their doorstep, maybe from the big city. How can you help them if that person can't?
Absolutely, yeah. It's really important to have a trust when you have a relationship for selling somebody's property. So you go out and talk to them. It's pretty easy for them to figure out in a few minutes if they can trust you or not, and whether you can speak their language. I mean, do you really know what their land's about, what their ranch is, what the carrying capacity is, how the water rights work? I mean, those are things that they know, inherently, and they expect you to have that same level of competency. So, just being authentic and talking to them, it's pretty easy to establish that trust, and we're off and running.
You know, one thing that I've definitely noticed about rural Americans is, yeah, they can see right to the core of you, and they can figure it out really quick if you're being inauthentic. Yeah. So that's outstanding. I can see how you're a perfect fit. Now, we've been talking about your distinguishing characteristic, live it to know it, and we actually have Jackie Zurcher on the phone. She's a broker associate in Wyoming. Thanks so much for the call and for joining our conversation. Tell us a little bit about your story with Mason and Morse Ranch Company.
Sure. Thank you guys for having me. John started out as our land broker, and now we all consider him a very close family friend. About 15 years ago now, he listed our farm for us in southern Wyoming, and since then, we've bought several farms, improved them. He's helped us to sell them. So he's kind of been by our side, navigating through buying and selling properties, and I decided to get involved with Mason and Morse because I felt like it was a perfect fit for me, knowing that we had built that trust.
Wow.
And
that's great. Talk about the live it to know it philosophy and how that applies to you.
Sure. I'm involved in production agriculture. We have a cattle operation with Charolais Red Angus cross cattle, and then we have irrigated hay farms. And I just truly enjoy fitting that farm to the client, and then being able to come back years later and seeing how they take that farm and make it their own. So it's just always fun to see what your clients can do with a property.
Absolutely. And I think it's such a great story that you were actually working with John. Now you work with him, and maybe he became a bit of a mentor to you, I would think, because just based on the time that I've had with you, John, you've taught me so many things. Would you say that's the case, Jackie?
Oh, most definitely. Can't speak enough highly about John and his character and his relatability.
Yep. And I think a lot of rural Americans out there would agree with you. And we just met him, many of us. So that's
great family, and we're really happy to have Jackie on board with our firm. She fits the mold and definitely lives it to know it.
All right. Well, we love that. And Bart, did you want to add to that why it's so important that everybody on your team has that live it to know it instilled within them?
Jackie's a perfect example of that. Was a client, recognized what we did for her, likes the business. We look for agents who have the live it to know it lifestyle. We can certainly help them with the real estate side of things, but you certainly have to have the live it to know it lifestyle first and understand what that means. So thanks, Jackie, for participating. We're excited to have Jackie on board, and our other agents have that same type of unique, authentic background that you need to be able to understand these farming and ranching operations and what it takes to really value these properties or help a client find the right property they're looking for.
You know, when you talk about finding the right property, there's so much money involved, and we work so hard for that money. And so, of course, when you're going into a big transaction like this, you want somebody looking out for you. You want somebody who's well-researched, who knows what they're doing. And I think that's what a lot of your clients find in you. Okay.
It does. We would like to think that we have clients and friends and not customers.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes those clients do turn into lifelong friends, just like Jackie here. So
it's important to have an advocate for whatever you're doing. If it's something you don't do every day, you want somebody that's on your side, and that's what we do. That's what we bring to the table and expect to earn that trust.
Establishing a relationship with your clients so that they do become your friends, they do become your family. And when you're working with your friends or your family, you only want the best. And so I can see how that works out for both of you. And you're creating lifelong relationships. That's really, really great. Okay, we want to find out more about what you do and how you do it, because it's different than residential real estate. And maybe somebody out there is considering buying or selling. Maybe you just want to know more about it. Maybe you're somebody who has a generational operation that you're thinking about passing down along to the next generation, and you want to know about market trends. We're going to talk about all of that tonight. But first, we're going to pause for a quick break. Stay with us. Our phone lines are wide open, and we want to hear from you. Give us a call at 877-731-6733 and join the conversation with your questions for John and Bart from Mason and Morse Ranch Company. We're taking your calls live on the other side of this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A ranch is one of nature's greatest treasures, and calling one home is a dream come true for many. Whether you're looking for a home away from home or a place to hang your hat forever, Mason and Morse has the expertise to pair you with one of America's greatest natural legacies. Our ranch brokers offer more than 130 years of experience in luxury real estate land sales. Call us to put our expertise to work for you. Mason and Morse Ranch Company. We live it to know it. Nothing compares to the thrill of owning your own recreational ranch. From mountain ranges to meadows, forests to a fisherman's retreat, a family getaway, or just miles of road all your own. Mason and Morse Ranch Company has unparalleled experience when it comes to recreational real estate. So when it comes to buying or selling your own sportsman's paradise, let us put our experience to work for you. Mason and Morse. We live it to know it.
Spectacular properties. Welcome back to Rural America Live. Joining us now is Bart Miller, principal owner and managing broker, Mason and Morse Ranch Company, and John Stratman, a principal owner and broker as well, Mason and Morse Ranch Company. And you know what? You are a big part of this show, and we want to hear from you tonight. Give us a call at 877-731-6733 with your questions, and they will be answered by the experts from Mason and Morse Ranch Company. We're going to go straight to the phones. First up tonight, we have Steve from Georgia. Thanks so much for joining the conversation. Go right ahead, Steve.
Well, I'm a guy down here in the south. I'm just looking out the west, and what's a good size parcel that you should be looking to buy out west? And I'm a big Alabama fan, and I know now what Tommy Tuberville's up to nowadays.
What's a good one?
A good-sized parcel for the West.
Are you looking for a farm, a ranch, or recreational type of property?
I think he said he was a farmer from the South, so let's go that direction.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on what your criteria is. I mean, so, a good ranch property in the West, typically we think of ranches running from 100 cows or more. So typically you're going to be looking at buying 1,000, 1,500 acres up to 20, 30, 50. It just goes on up, depending on how many cows you want to run. But the farm operations, we see a lot of farm operations on a quarter section. So the recreation properties a lot of times are on a ranch. So you're getting the working ranch along with the recreation aesthetics. But depending on what your interest is, there's a lot of inventory out there. Just need to find what works for you.
Excellent. Really appreciate that call. That leaves a line open for you. 877-731-6733 is the number to call and join our conversation live. I want to give you another number, though, because maybe you're like Steve and you have a very personal question. Everybody has different questions. There's no two properties that are alike. And if that's you, I want to give you the number so that you can directly contact Mason and Morse Ranch Company. That's 1-866-278-3011. I know the phone lines are going to be swamped tonight, so if you can't get through, we encourage you to leave a message, and as promised, you will return that call, right?
Absolutely. We want to hear from you. So please, call in, and if you can't get through to the show tonight, we can't answer your question, we're here. We're not going anywhere, and we'll return your call when we get back to the office, or even tonight if we can get the message in. So
wonderful.
Looking forward to hearing from you.
That's, again, that number, 1-866-278-3011 to contact Mason and Morse Ranch Company. All right, let's talk a little bit more about how your process works. Let's talk about the buyers you work with, their criteria and objectives.
Well, there's lots of types of buyers, a farm buyer, a ranch buyer, or a recreational buyer. Sometimes that's all the same type of buyer, but the first thing we do is create a relationship. This business is about a relationship first. the common thread of what we do as brokers and the client is the live it to know it motto. And the land and the operations and the lifestyle, those become the connecting thread in our relationships. And so we already have a lot in common because we both have passion for those types of things. But from a buyer's standpoint, we'll interview them and get to know them. And are they looking to expand their farming operation? Do they need more acreage to farm? Is it a family situation where your son or daughter's coming back to farm and you're looking for more land, those types of things? Maybe you're ready to relocate your farm. Some farmers end up saying, the water here is just not what it used to be, and we're going to go, sell our farm here and relocate somewhere. So we've been able to relocate some farmers around the country in that respect. When it comes to ranching opportunities, we're always looking for more livestock capacity, more acreage, those types of things around the country. Some areas of the country are wetter than others. Some are drier than others. Yep. We've seen a lot of ranchers during droughts in the south want to move their operations up north, and of course when the rain comes back in the south, they move them back to the south because that's where they're from. So we're able to facilitate that. Go ahead.
And a lot of times, they're just looking to diversify, their holdings. So they may have made a lot of money in another business, and they've always had a passion or desire to go buy a ranch, a place where they might hunt elk or go fishing or, whatever it might be that drives them. And so, they start looking and they realize how big the landscape is, and then they start thinking maybe they could use some help, and that's where we come in. So we get connected and establish that relationship, try and meet their goals and objectives, and just have a lot of fun doing it.
I bet. You meet a lot of great people.
As we said earlier, sometimes these properties are not publicly for sale.
Right.
So our specialty is finding properties that meet the buyer's objective, whether it's for sale or it could be for sale, knock on doors and locate the right property.
Which I think is tremendous, and you just don't see that very often. So it speaks volumes to what you're doing and how you're taking that extra step, those extra measures for the people that you work for and with as clients in that relationship, not customers. Let's talk about cost. I mean, that's something that always pops up. You're already spending, so much money to get this new property. How much does it cost for buyer representation?
Well, that's a great question. We'll both answer that. And most times it costs nothing for buyer representation. When we have an agency with a buyer under contract, that contract stipulates that we're required to seek payment from the seller through the sales process. A lot of times if those properties are listed, the commission's outlined there already, and we facilitate that. If for some reason it's a for sale by owner or we found a property that was not for sale, our job is to put the buyers and sellers together. And, we all come from, the rural environment, where you can look somebody in the eye and have a handshake and, everybody comes together and says, what's fair here? And so, our fees come from the buyer or the seller or both in those types of situations. But in most cases, typically the fees come out of the sales commission from the listed property side.
From the selling side, not the buying side.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's something interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people probably learned that just now. Now, John, your agents live it to know it, and they treat their buyers as clients, not customers. We've been talking about that. When you're going into a real estate transaction and it's for a property, say it's a recreational property, I'm sure that you do your best to make sure you're getting your client the best deal possible if you are working on the buyer side. And that's got to be hard, though, but it seems like you really do your research so that your clients aren't leaving any money on the table. And I think that's what everybody's ultimate goal is when it goes into buying or even selling a property. You don't want to have to pay more or get less than what your property deserves. So talk about some of the ways that you're able to research your properties.
You bet. Yeah, it's interesting. You kind of have to know the territory. So you live it to know it, and that's one thing we know. But we're familiar with what land values are in different areas, and each of our brokers is experienced with that. So they have that knowledge base, so they know that going in. And then from there, we do a lot of essentially appraisal work, seeking out comparable sales so that we can compare. And because every piece of land is different, it's sometimes difficult. You kind of have to break down the components and what's the irrigated land worth, what's the range land worth, what's a mile of fishing river worth. So you break all that down based on what sales have been and add it back up, and you have a pretty good idea of what that's worth. And you do that for years and years, you get adept at it. So, but yeah, if we're working for the buyer, we're going to make sure he gets the best deal that we think's possible. And on the other side, if we're working for the seller, we're going to try and get them the most money that they can get.
That's great. And I know that you speak of it. I know you have the experience, but even just doing that research, that's a tremendous amount of research, because finding comparables, I'm sure you have to go beyond the county limits, even beyond the state limits from time to time to find similar properties to help price it right.
Right, we do. There's no MLS where you can just, pull up what's sold and, on a screen and print it out for your customer. We have to go talk to appraisers and other brokers. We're big believers in the brokerage business. We maintain a lot of brokerage relationships.
That's
so
great.
That information, we can find it, we can get to it.
Okay. Joining us now by phone, we have Scott Oliver, broker from Carville, Colorado, with the Mason and Morse Ranch Company. Talk about your background, your own unique live it to know it story. We're learning more and more about what you do, and I love hearing the stories from the agents and the brokers. Go right ahead, Scott, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, well, nice. How's everybody down there in Tennessee today?
Hey, Scott.
Great.
Doing good.
Hey, guys, I'll just share with you really quick. Like I said, I live in Carville, Colorado. I ranch there and also have a ranch in St. Francis, Kansas. When I graduated college with a degree in animal science and agronomy, I moved to Southern Virginia and started farming there. The grass was supposed to be greener and taller. Well, sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. But anyway, I got quite a cow herd and, like I said, lived there for 20 years, and I decided to move back to Colorado. And there, like I said, I owned a livestock auction and have done many other things out there. But I've been selling ranches years ago, and sometimes I would hire real estate agents, and they didn't have a clue what they were doing. Okay, I've had a lot of friends that are really good real estate agents, but most of them didn't. So when I heard about Mason and Morse and they said, we live it to know it, it really clicked and hit home to me. So
you bring up a great point there. I mean, and I can see that being the case, because just working with rural Americans, just getting to talk to rural Americans like I get to every day on the show that we have, Market Day Report, it really goes to show that you can't just be some city slicker out of Los Angeles, California, showing up on a ranch. I mean, you got to have the knowledge, right?
Exactly. I mean, if I go to talk to someone and I try to talk about a missile, okay, well, they'll know in 5 minutes that guy that built that missile, if I know anything about it. And conversely, if we get a guy that comes out and starts talking about cattle and horses, and we'll know in 2 seconds if he knows about that or not. So, like I said, I'm really proud to be associated with this company because their values are right in line with mine.
Well, we are grateful for the phone call. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you so much, Scott Oliver, broker associate with Mason and Morse Ranch Company. Okay, so we covered the buyer side. Let's talk about the listing side, because we may have viewers out there, listeners on rural radio as well, who are interested in maybe listing their property, but they don't know where to start. Talk about some of the services that you have.
We'd love to. But we could have a whole show on marketing properties. It's a major part of our business. But, as we say, we specialize in farms, ranches, and recreational property. Those are 3 separate categories. And even the recreational category has 3 or 4 categories in itself, equine, ATV, hunting, fishing, whatever it may be. So, the first thing we do with clients about marketing property is just assess their needs. Is this a date certain event for some reason where we need to put an auction format together for them? Is this a generational sale, something of that nature? Are they selling their ranch because they want to relocate? Whatever it may be. So again, it's about relationships. It's about having the conversation, getting to know, what their objectives are. And then from there, we're able to build the marketing campaign and obviously go through the appraisal process and the valuations and those types of things based on all the nuances of the operations. and put together a nice custom marketing campaign for each property. These properties are not commodities, but what they are is they're each unique individual stories of themselves, whether it's farm or ranch or recreational property. So our marketing campaigns focus on each component, and they really become customized marketing campaigns.
Wonderful. You know, let's talk about one of your signature properties to give our audience a better idea of what you're working with.
Sure.
Oh, we're going to talk about the Oregon.
Oh, Antone Ranch.
Antone.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, let's talk about the Antone Ranch. Beautiful property. We've spent a lot of time on it, done videos, taken pictures, mapped it out. But real unique property, 36,000 plus acres.
Wow.
Lays in its own bowl with the river going down through it, backs up to national forest, snow-capped peaks, home to large herds of deer and elk, and probably the distinguishing feature, a couple of them, would be the many lakes that are on it. There's a lake on it that you can jet ski on.
Wow.
Another distinguishing feature is there's a jet strip on it, so
That's
you
convenient.
can land there, and has lots of housing, good improvements. Just a real nice ranch, probably one of the best ones on the market for sure.
How did you come across this listing? Did someone just call you because of word of mouth, or was it a referral? I'm guessing it would probably be a referral.
No, actually, the owner contacted Rob and had seen that, what we do and kind of figured out how we do it. And so he contacted us, and we went out and met with him and put it all together.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if a seller is coming to you with that kind of trust for this kind of land, that's a huge responsibility. And all of a sudden you take that on and you make it your mission to get that seller the best deal possible. Talk about some of the ways that you're able to do that.
We're marketing, these properties worldwide essentially. So we're using the latest in technology, lots of internet and print marketing, email blasts, social media, just the list goes on, as well as contacting, our own people in our own database, our own Rolodex.
Wow.
So we don't leave any stone unturned when we go to market a property.
Scrubbing your own database, which I'm sure is vast just based on the relationships that you've developed over the years. All right, without further ado, let's take a better look at the Antone property.
The lakes on the place are incredible. I mean, you guys have seen the views from these lakes. All of them are spectacular, but they're full of big fish. We have what I call the A-team. The people that are out here, I think, really, truly love what they do, which I think is a key to success in any venture, and certainly I think in any ranch.
It's home. It's where our daughter was born here. Our son's been here since he was 2. So it's home for us. We treat it like it's our own. We take care of it like it's our own because we love it here.
Zach Bruce, our farming manager, has done an incredible job of keeping everything green in the fields, and it, of course, attracts all the animals to the fields. So we kind of have what we call the zoo effect in the evenings when all the animals come down to the fields to eat their dinners.
The Antone Ranch is really a piece of heaven on earth, and you have to come and see it all to really appreciate it. The Antone does have a lot of history, and we definitely hope to be a part of its future.
Our life story is too long to tell right now, but we feel like in selling the ranch, we'll be able to convert a lot of what I call worldly treasure into heavenly treasure. So we plan on selling the ranch, and the proceeds over the years ahead then are going to be given charitably. Through my many years of selling ranches, I've been able to visit some of the greatest country in the western United States.
Wow, that is spectacular.
It's quite a place.
It's a dream. It's what that is.
That's obviously a very special property, and but the reality there is, we do have that relationship with the owner. The ranch managers were in there, and the ranch managers become equally as important to these ranches when they sell for the next buyers. That's their livelihood there.
Yeah.
And, we're not selling a business and getting rid of all the employees. We live it to know it. We've been in their shoes. And so we like to find a buyer for these types of properties that will go ahead and steward the land, like the current seller is, and carry along the ranch management with it. So the ranch hands become a really important piece of part of the process of the relationship that we try to create with our sellers.
See, I would see it as an incentive because who knows that land better than the ranch hands, than the guys who have been out there working that land for the past 5, 10, maybe 20, 30 years in some cases. Right. So that's outstanding that you're able to keep those relationships going, and then that's part of it as well. Okay, we want to learn more stories like this. And I want to remind you, if you want to see other properties that are available from the Mason & Morse Ranch Company, the number to call, 1-866-278-3011. That's the number to call if you want more information. Also, there is a website that we invite you to visit as well. And make sure that you stop by the website, ranchland.com. It is fantastic, the properties that they have available. And when they go to the website, a special complimentary gift for our viewers and listeners tonight. Talk about the magazine.
Go to the website, ranchland.com. You can click on Marketing Advantage or ranchland.com/free. As John mentioned, some of our print publication partners that we have relationships with are important. And if you're interested to receive a free complimentary issue, one or all of them, feel free to fill out the form there, and we'll send you a complimentary issue. But great magazine. You know, one thing to note in here, we've got a great relationship with our peers out there. These magazines, this is not just a Mason & Morse Ranch Company magazine. Some of our peers are in here, and they're, you know, great firms to view. But we're comfortable, you know, giving a magazine out that shows our services and what we do, even though some of our peers are listed in there.
Okay. Well, you know, that just shows how fair you are as well. Yeah. All right. You're very well connected. That's one thing that has become apparent just over the short time that we've had together. You have some great partners and established relationships. Talk about the Realtor Land Institute.
Well, the Realtor Land Institute is a network of land broker professionals around the country. And it's meant to offer them education in the ranch and land markets, those types of things. But it's really a network of brokers to come together and pitch properties. Say, hey, I've got a client, that's looking for 1,000 acres in western Nebraska. Wants to have mostly corn and maybe some ranch and properties. And so those types of properties may not be on the market for sale, and so we believe in our brokerage peer group that we facilitate with, and the Realtor Land Institute allows us to do that.
Wow, that's great.
It's a people business, and it's not just about buyers and sellers. It's also about participating with your peers in the industry and other firms around there.
That can get tricky sometimes because there's competition involved, and you've got one person representing a buyer and you might be representing a seller. And so how great is it that you still have maintained these fabulous relationships with other brokerages and your peers as well? I think that says a lot about you. Very peaceful, and you're just trying to ultimately help your client get the best deal possible. Talk about your relationship with the Superior Land Network.
You bet. Yeah, it's a kind of a new relationship that Superior Livestock has put together so that their representatives, about 380 of them across the country, can provide a lead to the land network. And so we joined up with the Superior Land Network to take those leads and help those people get what they need to get done, whether that's buying a ranch or selling one.
And of course, they're affiliated with Superior Livestock. And of course, we have a great relationship with Superior Livestock here at RFD TV. So it just goes to show as well, you're working with some fantastic people. In fact, joining us on the phone now is Jenny Weingartner with Superior Land Network. Thanks so much for joining us, Jenny. Describe your experience with Mason & Morse Ranch Company. Why do you think they're a good fit for your network?
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for having me on. We're just thrilled to have Mason & Morse on board the Land Network. Early this year, we started this nationwide real estate marketing network looking to put together the resources of proven land brokers across the country, along with the connections and the resources of Superior Livestock. And in that process, we've really been looking for brokers who know the land and who know the business on the ground and are going to be able to have those conversations face-to-face with, as you talked about just a bit earlier, that authenticity. They understand the business and have done the business for years. So we were really thrilled to see Mason & Morse and their team, across their entire team. They have all different varieties of experience in farming and ranching and agribusiness. And I think they're just a huge asset to this network as we look to connect more and more landowners with the folks who know how to buy and sell land and with the connections that they need to be able to get those properties sold.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear. Where do you guys see this partnership going in the future?
Our goal is Superior Livestock currently services about a 32-state area, cow country across the United States. Our goal for the Superior Land Network is that we would have exclusive brokers to service that entire territory. As of today, again, just starting early this year, we have got land brokerages with roughly 35 land specialists licensed to practice real estate in 16 states, as well as a multi-state appraisal partner. So I think the opportunities ahead for the land network are endless, and we know that those are even more endless with partners like Mason and Morse Ranch Company on board.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining our conversation. We really appreciate hearing from you. Jenny Weingartner with Superior Land Network. Okay, how does that make you feel when you have a raving, beautiful endorsement like that from pretty important people?
Right. It's a great opportunity for us, and we're really pleased to be associated with them. It's already, just a few months out of the box, and we've got leads for both buyers and sellers.
Wow.
So it looks like it's going to be great. We've been out meeting the reps and attending some of the Superior Livestock auction events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Partnerships.
It's a great conduit. If for some reason we don't have services in a particular area of the country, we have a backstop through the Superior Land Network and some of the relationships we've worked there and the network there. So like Jenny said on the telephone, the authenticity of the network and the networks we're involved in, whether it's Realtor Land Institute or the Superior Land Network, you can trust that there's an authenticity, and what we've kind of made the fame to claim of live it to know it.
Yeah.
That's what we're after.
It's excellent. All right, we want to hear more. We're going to pause for a quick break. I know it's getting good now. We're going to pause for a quick break. Stay with us, though. We want to bring you into this conversation as well. And our phone lines are wide open. We want to hear from you tonight. Give us a call at 877-731-6733 and join this conversation with your questions for John and Bart from Mason and Morse Ranch Company. We're going to be taking your calls on the other side of this break. Plus, when we come back, we're going to talk about current market trends for farm and ranch land. I know you have questions about that. Stay tuned. More Rural America Live right after this.
When you invest in a ranch, you're not just buying a piece of land. You're inheriting a legacy. Mason and Morse Ranch Company is recognized as one of America's top real estate land brokerages. Whether you're looking for a working ranch or just a spot to unwind, with some of the best expertise in the industry, Mason and Morse Ranch Company won't just help you find the lifestyle. We will help you live the lifestyle. Mason and Morse Ranch Company. We live it to know it.
Welcome back to Rural America Live. We have a great show for you tonight. Joining us now, Bart Miller, principal owner and managing broker of Mason and Morse Ranch Company, and John Stratman, principal owner and broker, Mason and Morse Ranch Company. And we have been talking about some of your fantastic properties, but more importantly, really what you're all about. Live it to know it. And for those who may just be joining us, can you recap what that means? Live it to know it.
I'd love to. Live it to know it is a motto that we all stand by. Our brokers that work for Mason and Morse Ranch Company all have an authentic history or background farming or ranching or outdoor enthusiasts, hunting, fishing. So the live it is the lifestyle. And we understand that lifestyle and have come from that lifestyle. The know it is the land portion of it. And so live it to know it really is something that we hold true, our agents hold true, and we all come from an authentic background that allows us to have that experience.
And to better serve the people who are your clients, who become your friends, and you establish those relationships with. I think that's really what sets you apart. Farming is a generational industry. Let's talk a little bit about how the next generation of ownership looks and the overall market landscape.
That is a big question, and we could have a whole show on just that question. But my family, we're in the process of a generational shift. And my father just had his 76th birthday yesterday, and he is happy birthday, Dad. And he is still farming away.
Wow.
Farmers never retire; they just keep chugging along. So, but we're excited about the next generation and what that looks like, and we're having some hard discussions. Am I going to go back and farm? Are my sisters going to farm? Are we going to custom farm it? Are we going to be landlords? All those things go into those types of discussions. So the next generation is certainly going to be important for agriculture. And the question is, what does that look like? Are they going to be, off-farm type of managers? Are they going to just be landlords? Those types of things. And we've seen both clients, where it's a second or third or fourth generation, and maybe they don't have any relationship with the farm anymore. So it's certainly a process that we go through, and that's part of the relationship we try to establish with our clients.
Yeah, it's a changing landscape for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to hear. We're going to go to the phones. Before we take our next call, though, I want to make sure that you can join this conversation. If you have a question for our experts, 877-731-6733 is the number to call, 877-731-6733. We are going to talk to Homer from Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining the show. Go right ahead, Homer.
Yes, I'm interested in what you're offering there. We have a farm ranch recreation area in Pennsylvania, and we're thinking about marketing, selling it. And we have sporting clays, feed and trap, wild game hunting, 200 acres tillable, all kinds of barns, and horseback trails. 3, 4, 5 ponds and all kinds of clubhouses, and we need to market that.
Well, sounds like a great property, Homer. Appreciate you calling in. Yeah, that's that's the kind of properties that we run into, and you never know where they're going to be, whether they're in Pennsylvania or Wyoming. So, I think the first thing that we'd want to do is get on the phone with you afterwards. So please call back in, and we can visit a little bit more about the property, what your goals are, and see if we can help you out. But yeah, sounds like a spectacular recreation property. Lots to do on it. I think it's what people are looking for. So sounds like a good one.
Homer, I'm going to give you that number right now. It's 1-866-278-3011. Again, the number is 1-866-278-3011. Maybe you have an interest in selling your property and you'd like more information, just give them a call, 866-278-3011. If you can't get through tonight, we encourage you to leave a message and they will get back to you. All right, we are going to go back to the phones. Trey from Texas, you're next up. Thanks for joining the conversation. Trey?
Hello there. Just wanted to ask a question. If you've ever been involved in the sale of cattle land, and if the owner selling the land has had ag extension subsidies, if those subsidies continue over to the new purchaser or buyer of the land.
Yeah, I assume, Trey, are you talking about Farm Service Agency contracts?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, they have to qualify for them, but those farm programs are largely tied to the production history on that ranch. So as long as they met the qualifications, otherwise they could carry over.
Okay, good question. And boy, you know your stuff. I think that proves it right there, because you never know what these callers have in store with their questions. We love your calls. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. 877-731-6733. Again, the number to call is 877-731-6733. We're going to go back to the phones in a moment, but I want to talk about the general market trends for farming, ranching, recreational lands right now. Do these mirror what we see happening in residential areas?
I don't think they mirror. I think the residential market, as we all know, has been pretty hot across the country, especially here in Tennessee.
Yep.
And but no, we don't think they mirror that. I mean, obviously, farmland is somewhat of a product of the commodity prices and those types of things. And so, we saw for years the farmland trend was exponentially going up, and farmers' values for their properties were definitely benefiting the bottom line. And I think those values have stabilized, which we're excited about. And I think as the commodity market is sitting here at the bottom, I think we're going to maybe see a little shortage in corn. That number's probably going to come in just right in regards to volume. Soybeans are probably going to be
could be all-time record year.
Down a little bit, and so
prices are low.
I think for farmland, that's a relationship with the commodity prices, but those values have stabilized, and so it's a good time to be, we think, investing in farmland again as these commodity prices may come off these bottoms that we've been experiencing a little bit.
So much hope right now amongst the ag community, amongst soybean producers, especially there's ethanol opportunities as well. And now we're starting to get a little bit of a better picture about what's going to happen with the future of trade war talks starting to simmer down just a little bit. We're getting NAFTA finally negotiated. I know President Trump came out just today and said, we're ready to work with Mexico. We're not quite ready to work with Canada, but you know what? We're moving in the right direction. And all these things trigger signs in the market. And so, we're hopeful. I know all of us are. We're so sick of these low commodity prices that our farmers have been up against. So that's really interesting and valuable information that you're providing for us, Bart. Let's talk a little bit more about what, if I am a potential buyer or seller, how much time are you actually going to spend with me? Because I think a lot of the complaints that you hear about people who are working with real estate brokers sometimes is they just don't answer my calls. They're not spending the time with me that I deserve. How do you guys treat your clients, not your customers?
Sure. Yeah. It's a personal service business. So, and especially just take somebody selling their farm or ranch. We're going to spend a lot of time with them right out of the gate. I mean, we're going to get there, get to know them, earn their trust, understand what their goals and objectives are. And then we're going to be back time and time again. We're going to be back for pictures. We're going to be back for more information about the property. We're going to be back there to do a video. And so we're going to be back there to make maps. And we're going to interact with them, and they're going to understand the process. They're going to understand what the marketing plan is, so that as we go down the road, they have that trust. And when the right people come along to buy it, we'll help counsel them with those decisions. So we spend a lot of time with our clients, and we try and look for excuses to call them just so they know we haven't forgotten about them.
Well, even you talk about the face-to-face interaction. I mean, anybody can pick up the phone, but you just don't have the same connection. And so I see that you're doing both. But, I mean, that means you got to travel quite a bit. Is that the case?
We do. Our brokers they know how to get out of bed and get somewhere in the morning. And a lot of times they're staying on the road overnight. Wow. Some people like to travel farther than others. I personally have about a 300 to 400 mile radius limit, and then I'm going to start looking for an airplane ticket. But yeah, it's you're only limited by your time, and we really enjoy getting out there and meeting the people and trying to help them meet their objectives.
Okay, that's wonderful. All right, well, we only have 1 minute left, so I just want to make sure that you write down this number, 1-866-278-3011. You can also go to ranchland.com for more information. And if you give them a call, maybe you won't get through tonight. I know that their phones are probably ringing off the hook. Just go ahead and leave a message, and they will get back to you. So excited about having you guys back on the show and learning more about what you do. I just can't say enough about how wonderful, how authentic you are. And I mean, we heard from multiple testimonies tonight, testimonials that say, hey, these guys are the real deal. And I think that's what everybody's looking for in rural America. So thank you so much for joining us. Want to thank you for joining us as always. 1-866-278-3011.